The Marvel Cinematic Universe reshaped many heroes beyond its core trio of Iron Man, Captain America, and the Hulk, but few experienced as much growth, or as much missed potential, as Chris Pratt's Star-Lord. As Peter Quill, Pratt blended humor with heartfelt heroism, becoming a fan favorite in Guardians of the Galaxy. However, despite his character's popularity, the MCU left major gaps in his backstory, preventing his arc from feeling fully realized. Now, the Russo brothers, the filmmakers behind Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, have given Pratt the character journey he always deserved, but in an entirely different movie. Netflix's The Electric State delivers a new version of the Guardians dynamic, with Pratt's character, Keats, finally exploring the themes and depth that Star-Lord's MCU journey lacked. How the MCU underserved Star-Lord's story. Peter Quill's backstory was compelling, a boy kidnapped by space pirates, raised by a reluctant father figure, Yondu, and ultimately finding purpose with the Guardians. However, the MCU never fully explored why Quill rejected the Ravagers or what truly shaped him into a hero. Fans hoped for more insight into his moral transformation, perhaps witnessing the Ravagers stealing from the weak, killing innocents, or acting as galactic outlaws, but Guardians of the Galaxy largely skipped over this key moment. Instead, Quill's heroism was assumed rather than fully developed, leaving a disconnect in his origin story. This lack of depth was especially evident in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where the focus shifted to Rocket Raccoon's past, leaving Quill's character arc feeling incomplete. The Electric State is the Guardians story done right. In The Electric State, the Russo brothers essentially recreate a Guardian-style story, but with greater emotional complexity. Pratt's character, Keats, starts as a self-interested scavenger, much like Star-Lord, selling relics from a war between humans and robots. However, his journey takes a more nuanced and deeply personal turn. Keats has a rocket-like companion in Herman, a robot who once saved his life. The villain, Ethan Skate, mirrors the high evolutionary, seeking to manipulate technology to control society. Keats forms a found family, much like Star-Lord did, bonding with Millie Bobby Brown's Michelle as they fight to rescue her brother. Giancarlo Esposito's Butcher is a Nebula-type character, a ruthless bounty hunter who ultimately betrays the villain and joins the cause. But what makes Keats' story even more compelling than Star-Lord's is the way it fills in the emotional and narrative gaps that the Guardians films left untouched. Keats' backstory is the missing piece to Quill's journey. Unlike Star-Lord, Keats' motivations and past mistakes are fully explored. He once fought against robots in the war, but after being critically injured, his robotic ally Herman saved him. Both were then rejected by humanity, forcing Keats into a life of isolation and cynicism, a much clearer justification for his reluctance to be a hero. This backstory gives Keats a more complete redemption arc than Quill ever received. His shift from a selfish rogue to a selfless leader is not just implied, it's deeply personal and earned. He understands loss, betrayal, and the struggle to trust again, making his emotional transformation all the more rewarding. Even his relationship with Michelle mirrors Quill's dynamic with Groot, but with an added layer of mentorship and fatherhood, reinforcing the theme of new families healing old wounds. Did the MCU waste Star-Lord's potential? While Guardians of the Galaxy made Peter Quill an iconic MCU character, it's clear that his story lacked the depth it could have had. The Electric State proves that Pratt was always capable of leading a more emotionally rich narrative, one that explores themes of loss, redemption, and found family in a way the MCU never fully embraced. The irony? The directors who helped shape Star-Lord's biggest MCU moments, Joe and Anthony Russo, are the ones who finally gave Pratt the story arc he deserved. With The Electric State now streaming, it's a must-watch for fans of Guardians of the Galaxy, because in many ways, it's the version of Star-Lord's story that the MCU never told.